Good morning and welcome to Friday Thoughts, Living Faithfully Together. It's always good to have this time to connect with you, and I hope you find it meaningful for you as I look forward to it on a week-to-week basis. Today I wanted to simply take a moment to talk with you about the upcoming plan for us to gather for outdoor worship. We did a couple weeks ago a brief introduction to all of our Restart team members, and I hope you've really taken that to heart. And in fact, this is a listing of the final survey results that we sent out and we got back. Roughly 134 responses, 20 of them mailed in and the rest all came in via email. And some of it was not real surprising, but all of it was very helpful. Learn things about your desire to be together, your fear level about being impacted by this virus. We also found that a number of you really said you value coming together for worship, and that but at the same time you value the online worship presence, and we need to keep that going for a long time yet to go. And then there was an opportunity for you to sign up for volunteering, and so we now have a list of volunteers, and that too was surprising. We have, for those who are 50 and under, there were a total of 26 volunteers. Those in their 60s were 11, and those who were in their 70s plus 21 volunteers. So those who are in the at-risk category came out in droves, and yet it tells how much they long to be together. So we need to work through that list now and figure out what's best for making worship possible. And so this week, Restart team met. We've put together a letter that you'll be receiving either electronically or via mail in this next few days. It's all about the planned opening worship outdoors on the 12th of July. We are in the midst of putting together this list of materials and making sure that we've covered all the bases to make sure that outdoor worship is possible. And we're discovering that doing worship outdoors or doing it indoors, in light of all the requirements now, worship has taken on a much larger task for all of us to do that. And so we have created a Trinity Health form that we're asking you to fill out in advance as you pre-register for worship, simply as a way for us to do appropriate contact tracing if necessary, and to make sure that you have read through the guidelines, the expectations we have for worship, so that we stand together and don't quibble about that. There's also going to be a worship exit survey where you have a chance to say what you liked or didn't like, so that we can tailor that worship the best we can for all who are coming together. It'll be outdoors where you can be in the green space, or you can be in a car and tune in on the radio and listen that way, and we'll have a variety of options for you to consider. I would say that as you call in or reserve a spot, you don't need to reserve a circle for each individual person, but one circle per family. Give us an idea of how many are in that family, so we may have a few circles a little larger for you to gather around in. You'll bring a chair or a blanket, whatever you prefer to sit on during worship, and we'll go forward with that. But this gives you an idea of we spent at least a couple hours today as a staff just going through the needs that are there. How many volunteers are we going to need to accomplish all the things, from parking lot ushers and greeters to those who are the green space ushers and greeters, getting you to the right spaces. Registration table, we not only have to have one, we have to have two. One at the entrance to the parking lot area as people come that way, but also for those who may walk in from the street side or the parking lot across the street, coming into the green space that way. So we have to have two registration tables with people to help, where you'll pick up, you'll drop off an offering, you'll drop off your health form, you'll pick up a survey, along with the bulletin for worship for that day. We need to literally have bathroom greeters, someone to meet at the door, directing you where to go, and somebody near the bathroom to say when it's available or not, so we are not creating problems with that whole issue. We have to update the website every Sunday morning. If by 8 a.m. we'll be making a decision based on the weather, whether that telling us whether or not that worship will happen, or whether online worship will be the only option available to us. We're going to have a group that helps to set up and tear down everything from sound system, to the band instruments, to the altar itself, various things like that. We call it money protectors. We just want to make sure that the offering that's dropped off is collected and put into the church safe and covered, so your gifts are dealt with in a responsible way. And then we have to mark out the green space and the parking lot areas, so that'll all be done ahead of time for Sunday morning. We've got band members who have said, yes, we want to be a part of that, and so we're looking at what that looks like, at least for the 12th. Custodial help, staff help, all of those things. And then we're beginning a creative list of materials that are needed, things you never think about before. We have to have a bin for pens that are clean, so that if you need to sign in, you use those, and then you place them in the dirty bin, so that within a week's time they will be considered clean again. We have to have how many tables for registration, or a table for the altar, sound up equipment and what's necessary for that, the FM transmitter to make that possible, the signs for radio station numbers, so that you know what station to tune your car into, the bulletins with the survey on the back, health forms, masks. You know, do you realize we have members of the congregation that have been making these masks, and we have them available so that for children and adults alike, we hope as you gather for worship you will bring your own. But if not, we have to be prepared to cover that for you, because it's a requirement as we gather together, at least initially. We have to have offering boxes, survey boxes made up. We have to mark out social distance signs so you know that when you gather. Preparation for the altar, for spraying chalk marks for special places for the parking of the cars, or in the grass so that all the circles are marked out. Hand sanitizer stations and antibacterial wipes so that we can do this as safely as possible. We know there's always a risk, but our desire to be together, to be the family of God in this place, is so important and compelling for us. We're willing to take those risks as safely as possible, so that we can cherish and share life and worship with one another. Obviously, there won't be coffee or treats before or after worship for the time being. That's something down the road, we hope, but for now, the importance of simply being together as the family of God, worshiping. There'll be no singing by the congregation at this time, maybe if you're singing in your car, but the band will lead us with the music, and we'll have to make that sufficient. And we trust that no matter what we do, the mutual conversation and consolation of God's people will suffice and will strengthen us and sustain us for this day and for the days to come. So we are looking forward to seeing you again more in person. But keep us in mind, keep us in your prayers. If you're willing to help, please call the office and volunteer. If you don't have access to registration, pre-registration online, please call the office and let us know. We look forward to seeing you in a little over a week. Can't wait for that to happen. Pray for good weather, and certainly that we all remain safe in God's love and God's grace. We're praying for you. We're here for you and with you. We stand together, being God's people in this time and in this place. Thanks again for another Friday Thoughts together.